First, introduction of interviewing.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 34 of the It's My Job podcast. This is Jose. I am a student from Colorado, and my teacher, Miss Christine Dolly, is a podcast facilitator. The It's My Job podcast features students interviewing adults who are blind or visually impaired, asking them important questions like how they use technology and how they connect with other people. Stay tuned after the podcast to hear how to get involved, and please share with your friends and teachers so they can listen too. Now for the interview. Carl from Colorado is interviewing Kaiya. Kaiya is a pilot that flew from Arizona and flew all the way to Washington. Now let's listen to Carl's interview with Kaiya.
Next slide, picture interviewing.
I have 10 questions for you today.
Sounds good.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? When did you go blind? And where are you from?
I was born and raised here in Arizona. I live in Goodyear, Arizona, and I started losing my eyesight when I was 14. And for about 5 years, I was constantly reassured and promised by my doctors that I would get it back. And at 19, we weren't seeing any progress, and I couldn't go on to college or any higher education because I didn't have the tools accessible to me at the time. And that's when we found the Foundation for Blind Children. And my dad stumbled across them by accident. And thankfully, he was able to sit down and talk with one of the instructors there, and we were able to get help. And I found out that I had lost all of my peripheral and I had very limited central vision.
Wow.
And it was unlikely that I would ever get it back. And to this day, 8 years later, we still don't know why I lost it. I know before I lost my eyesight, I was an avid reader. I read anything I could get my hands on. And so now with the tools available to me, I listen to audiobooks whenever I have the chance.
In 1946, the year Helen Keller piloted a plane by herself. While most pilots rely on sight, instead, is it possible for a person without vision to fly a plane?
Yes, I think it is. I think for somebody that wants to fly and pilot on their own, they would need a co-pilot just there for emergencies, because as of right now, the technology that we have doesn't allow for emergency landings or just any sort of emergency that could come up. We don't have the tools accessible currently to do that completely on our own. But as far as being able to take off and fly and land the plane, it's with a lot of hard work and practice, it's completely possible.
That's amazing. Are you a commercial or a passenger pilot? And when did you start flight lessons?
I don't have any certifications. Started my lessons in March of 2022. So I was able to study and practice and learn for about 8 months before the final trip.
What are some duties of a pilot?
Well, I think the biggest one is making sure that everything's in functioning and working order to make sure that the takeoff is completely safe, just as the landing needs to be completely safe, to make sure everybody is able to land as safe and healthy as they were when they took off.
Right. Completely agree. Okay, what challenges do you face as a visually impaired pilot, and what kind of accommodations do you use to fly?
Some of the biggest challenges in the beginning were learning what myself and the co-pilot needed to do to modify the techniques that he uses to teach sighted pilots. He had to learn right along with me what we needed to do to allow me to accomplish what his other students can do. And those ranged from his sighted students would use a poster of the inside of the airplane's cockpit when they were at home just to memorize where everything was. So he was able to get me one, and some of my instructors from the Foundation for Blind Children sat down with me, and we brailled out the entire thing. So I would spend hours just studying where everything inside the plane would be. And I was very grateful for that. That helped transfer over. And that was one less thing I really needed to worry about when I'm in the plane.
Okay.
And the other big ones were learning how to turn the plane. We had to practice constantly. We had to learn how fast to count and how long I needed to count to turn the plane from, say, the east to the west and get it as accurate as possible.
Wow. Okay. Do you read and write with Braille?
I do. I discovered Braille when I was an adult student at the Foundation for Blind Children, and I fell in love with it. My pilot's book that I had to study, while I had it on my computer so I could listen listened to it with JAWS. They also embossed me a copy in Braille, so I had that format and I could study my Braille along with my pilot's book.
That's amazing. Wow. Question 8. How much does it cost to be a pilot, and how much do you make in your first year of work?
I'm not sure how much it costs to be a pilot. I know it's very expensive because of fuel and pilot's lessons. Thankfully, when I was part of this program, the Foundation for Blind Children covered everything. And because this was just for Flight for Sight, I didn't get paid for it. The event was centered around not just me or like the Foundation for Blind Children, it was around the abilities of people who are blind or visually impaired, because there are so many people out there that unknowingly attempt to limit what we can do because of what they perceive or what the media tells them that we can do. But the truth is that, as long as we're willing to put in the work, we can do anything we want to do. The sky is literally the limit.
When there's no ceilings, the sky is the limit.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, cool. What kind of technology used to read and in your daily activities?
I use a mixture of a few different things. I have voiceover on my phone to contact anybody that I need to. And then for schoolwork, I use JAWS on my laptop because I have a lot of written assignments that I have to complete. And then in my free time and just when I'm studying, I have a Braille display that lets me access my notes and my books. That way I can just sit back and relax and study. And for cleaning, it's really just feeling around, making sure I've gotten everything. And for cooking, usually depends on what I'm cooking. Thankfully, I have sighted family members around the house, so I'll cook it for like chicken and meat. I will do what I think is best, and then I'll have them just, check. But if they aren't around, I have Be My Eyes on my phone, so I can always double check and make sure everything's good and safe.
What is the outlook for your career?
While I love flying, I don't intend to make that my main career. I would love to continue doing it in the future because it's just such an amazing experience. My goal in the future, what I'm going to school for right now, is I want to be a lawyer. I think my goal right now, when I first started looking into this, I was looking into criminal justice, but I've been talking with a lot of people when I was doing interviews, getting just an idea of what working in that profession would be like. And they told me once I get to law school, I need to keep an open mind because once I'm there, I get a little bit of experience from all the different fields and to find the one that calls to me. I'm going to community college right now, but the hope is to one day get to Harvard. So I'm excited.
Wow, very interesting. Okay. What is some wisdom that you would give to a blind or visually impaired person who wants to be a pilot?
I think the biggest thing that they need to remember is it's going to take a lot of hard work. I know for me, and I didn't go for the certifications that most pilots need. And just for this one thing that I did, we'd spent 8 months and I didn't learn. I learned as much as I could, but there was still a lot more to learn. So if the goal for a blind student is to become a pilot, they need to know there's going to be a lot of hard work and they need to be willing to put in that hard work because it is possible.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
So Carl, what is your goal? What do you want to do for your career?
Right now I want to be a disability rights advocate. Feel that it's very important that I not only advocate for myself, but I advocate for people who are blind and visually impaired across the spectrum. I feel like there's not enough people in the workforce, advocacy and lawyers to do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And represent our communities. So I really want to focus on protecting the rights of people with disabilities and doing everything I can to help them succeed.
That's wonderful. I think you're going to do amazing.
I hope to.
Yes, and you're right. There isn't enough people out there advocating as there could be, because we could always use another advocate out there.
I think it's very important that
I don't think so.
Okay. I would like to thank you for joining us today. Very nice to meet you. Your story is very interesting and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful talking to you.
He was like, how to contact us.
Hi, it's Jose again. Thanks for listening to episode 34 of the It's My Job podcast. What do you think? Can you believe that a blind person can fly an airplane? Would you like to fly an airplane yourself? If so, let us know by posting your comments and questions on our email or our Facebook page, and we will pass them along to Kaiya. And we might even share your questions and answers in a future episode of the It's My Job podcast. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for It Is My Job. And our email address is askitismyjob@gmail.com. Again, that's askitismyjob@gmail.com. No spaces and no apostrophe. Each of our episodes is on the Perkins Path Technology blog and the APH Career Connect website and on YouTube in our It's My Job podcast YouTube channel. If you like this episode, head over to YouTube or Facebook. This was our 34th episode, but we want to make many more, but we need your help. If you are a student who is blind or visually impaired, please have your teacher or parent contact us via Facebook or email, and we will get you matched up with an interviewee. And if you are an adult who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be interviewed, please contact us via Facebook or email, and we will get you matched up with an interviewer.
Let's slide credits.
We have a lot to be thankful for in this episode. Thanks so much to Kaiya Armstrong for taking her time as the interviewee, and thank you so much to Carl for taking his time as the interviewer. This interview was facilitated by my teacher, Miss Christine Dolly. Thank you, Miss Dolly, for providing students with meaningful opportunities and to experiment with what you always tell us. You don't need sight, you need a vision. Thank you for having high expectations for us for our future careers. Thanks to Perkins Path for the vlog posts. And thank you for the Career Connect website from the APH for sharing our interviews. Our music is from purpleplanet.com. We hope that this podcast is becoming a great opportunity to learn from each other and increase awareness about all the amazing jobs that are being done by people who are blind,